A geologist.
How do you know you want to be a geologist?
Because I like rocks. A ballerina.
Why do you want to be a ballerina?
Because I want to. It's where teenagers go and they try to work their best so they can go to college.
Why do they want to go to college?
Because they want to prove themselves that they're good enough.
I am passionate about
like academically.
There's nothing that's telling us to go with what we love doing.
It's not about what you want to do, it's what other people will think or what they want you to do.
If you do what you have to do now, you can do what you want to do later.
Freshman year, you sort of have to pick what you want and stick with it. If you change your mind when you're a junior, like, sucks for you. My dream is to be a TV screenwriter, producer. I'd love to, like, learn how to write scripts creatively. I just haven't had time for it. I don't know how to do that.
A lot of people that are really good at forcing themselves to sit down and, do the math or the science or the history or the English that they don't enjoy doing. And then you give them something to sit down that they enjoy doing and they're like, I don't know how to perfect this.
People want to be the best. People strive for perfection where that is not possible.
Get A's and go to a good college and make money.
Be in the highest classes and do the hardest things.
this idea that they have to be doctors and lawyers.
It's like one wrong move, one trip, and all of a sudden, there's just this black abyss.
If you fail or even get an 80 on one little thing, that affects the rest of your quarter grade, which affects your final grade, which affects your high school transcript.
It's weird that I think your success at SHS is not defined by something that happens at SHS, but something that happens in a college admissions office. But I honestly think that that's how you can say you've been successful in high school.
There's one path to, the home and the 2.5 kids, and we all like to believe that we're not really on that track, but we are. We're glued to it.
Get a better job if you go to college.
What happens if you get a better job?
You make more money.
What happens if you make more money?
You get a better house.
There's no room for creating your own life.
How many of you think that high school actually counts?
The critical mass of students have been told that high school counts, which is code for now's the time to stop having fun and to start thinking of school as a means to an end.
How well you do in high school does affect the rest of your life.
Grades now equal money later.
School's sort of just devolved into this game you have to play in order to escape it.
I guess at first when I was younger it was really easy, and then as I got older it just became this really stressful thing where I was like, the only thing I'm good at is schoolwork, and if I lose that, then I lose everything.
I have never worked with a population of kids in my entire career that was so focused on getting the right answer, getting done, and wanting the grade.
Me just trying to get through that test, get a high enough grade to, maintain my GPA. Then after that, I don't really care.
It just gained this ridiculous importance where it was like, if I don't get 100 on this test, I have nothing.
Parents and students value themselves and others based on their grade.
If you're not in a certain set of classes, you're dumb.
You hear things like the word A associated with the word smart.
And people like to say, oh, well, people can be street smart, but it really boils down to what you're taking home.
It determines how you classify different people.
You lose value in the other qualities of a person.
It sort of blocks you off from a lot of potential friendships.
Did you take physics last year?
Yeah.
Do you remember what force was measured in?
Wait, I do know. Wait, kilojoules, maybe?
What is force measured in?
Jules, was that the right answer?
Students. What happened in To Kill a Mockingbird?
Okay. It was about two brothers, right? And they.
One was a girl.
Okay. There were two young kids. Don't remember their names. And it was like there was like the trials with the guy.
There was the black guy who had to go to jail or something.
And Bo. I remember Bo something.
Boo.
Yeah, that's his name. And then he like fell and something happened. What's it about?
There's no reason to learn when you can just get through the rote memorization or through the work and get it done and get an A and forget about it.
It really felt like crisis management or triaging rather than learning.
You see a lot of cramming and a lot of like, oh, I'll just write this essay the night before because it's okay, this is what the teacher likes, this is what I'm going to be tested on, I'll just do everything I need to do to get there.
Too many students don't really start thinking about the material and learning it until they know they have a test.
If they're not going to be on the test, like, why should I bother studying them?
In classes where there's the opportunity to be like genuinely inspired, that's always marred by when you get like a paper back and then the teacher's like, oh, you didn't follow the assignment as closely as I told you to.
I might spend 15 minutes making comments, but they might spend 15 seconds looking at the 83.
It kind of made you feel like you had the chance to express yourself, but then like you did, and if it's not the way they want it, then you don't get a good grade, and grades are everything.
When the next test or project rolls around, you're not really motivated to try hard anymore because you're like, well, I tried hard on the last one and that didn't work out for me, so I should just give up.
If I thought my job was to grade you, I would quit.
The Volunteer Service Awards at SHS. Why do people do community service? Do they do it because they have been taught to? Or because they want to feel good about themselves? Or because they are compelled to by the expectations of a society? Or to make a difference? Or to give back? Or because we need a 10th activity to put on our common applications?
I think subconsciously almost everything I did was to have it on my college resume.
With community service, I think a lot of people tend to fake it. I probably have.
It's not me signing up like, oh, this is going to get me into an Ivy League. It's more like, oh, this is going to make me the right kind of Scarsdale student.
If you go to the college that you want to go to,
You can't just have good grades or good SAT scores or ACT or whatever. You need to be
someone who does a lot of extracurricular activities, so they're very well-rounded.
being in extracurriculars that you're good at and kind of having other people view you successfully.
And unfortunately, ultimately ends up at a really good university.
Whenever any adult says, this is going to be the best time of your life, it always ends up being, God, I hope not. Because if this is the best time of my life, like, I have done nothing just for me. It's been for college. College has become a person.
Things like, what motivates me? What am I really interested in? What do I really love to do? That gets overshadowed by the shoulds. Well, I should be getting this grade, or I should be doing that extracurricular, or I should be getting into that school, or I should be, or I should be, or I should be.
Anytime I do something, I get an award, something gets published, the first thing my mom says is, let's put that on your resume.
Even though I might like art and music and volunteer clubs and debate, if they don't all go together in a certain way, I don't think the college really has like any reason to want to accept the person.
You need to meet a criteria where you have a leadership role, and you have to have an artsy thing and like a volunteer thing.
President of the school government,
House Rep in class government.
Vice President of class government,
Extemporaneous speaking officer,
Officer of speech and debate,
Babysitter and tutor.
Babysitter, tutor.
page editor for the school newspaper.
The Maroon.
Treasurer of the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation Club,
Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation Club member.
Volunteer at my church's Midnight Run chapter.
Volunteer cheerleading coach.
Intern at the Stage Directors and Choreographers Foundation.
Intern for Congresswoman Nita Lowey.
Intern at Learn America.
Intern at PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Intern at Cash New York.
Habitat for Humanity club member.
committed member of Habitat for Humanity.
Volunteer for Habitat for Humanity.
Those activities that you weren't necessarily an active participant of?
Yeah.
Which?
Habitat for Humanity.
I think I went to 4 tournaments.
I don't even think I went to a meeting in 12th grade.
You're gonna make fun of us and make me read my application. I'm gonna make you read yours.
Ronald McDonald House Club.
How many times did you go to that?
Junior year, I was active.
How would you describe active?
I went to one cooking thing. Violinist.
I did not realize you played the violin.
Girl Scout.
That's not a real thing. Did you like being a Girl Scout or?
The clubs that you're actually committed to are usually based on like whether you like them or not, and not completely based on college.
I've been able to find a genuine interest in writing.
What motivated you to join Spectrum?
Well, this is actually like a real reason, is that like that? My sister has autism and was actually in Mr. Singer's class. So when I found out that there was a club where we could hang out with the people in Mr. Singer's class, I thought that that sounded really cool.
Speech and debate has now become like a very important part of my high school career, and that is all because I enjoy the activity.
Like I got into photography, and that is something that I enjoy doing, but I wasn't able to do it as much because I had to prioritize things that would seem more academically prestigious.
It's just an endless cycle of figuring out, what looks good and then trying to enjoy the writing I do too.
Everyone else has 8 or 9 or 10 activities, so shouldn't you too, because that's who you're being compared to.
For most people, have to do something and want to do something. They're 2 different things, but here it gets mixed so quickly.
Would have stopped the cello and I've done art because I have loved art for such a long time. I thought, oh yeah, I'll definitely continue art classes, I'll definitely do art, but because school gets in the way and other activities get in the way, it sort of just, falls away.
Was it worth it?
You don't even have time to think about it. You blink and it's over. And suddenly you've lived these 4 years, like not for yourself.
Gymnastics, there's a small group that love it, and then there's a small group that do it because it would look nice on their college transcript.
My experience with Fursby is that we have half of the kids that want to be there, and then there are the kids that come like twice a week. It kind of makes it a worse experience for everyone.
There were a lot of calls from a lot of different places about where our clubs were, what our clubs did, and clubs that functioned maybe as a portal for a kind of college application process.
There are times when at a tournament I'm like, oh, I want to win this so I can put like first place on my college application, as opposed to thinking about how I can really learn from the experience.
Losing is a much bigger deal to me now that college is a factor, because if I'm putting so much time into debate and I'm not doing well at tournaments, then I've almost lost the ability to have that be something that is a good quality about me as a person.
But if a student is motivated by the college application process, so be it, but we do want to encourage that community service in particular goes beyond the bake sale.
I say that they have their reasons for doing it, but they're still in my camp, so now it's my job to make them an athlete. They will get something out of it opposed to just writing it on a transcript.
Why is it important for you to get into a competitive college?
I have to think about that. I don't really know. Honestly, I have to think. So, why?
I asked the SHS debate team to consider the following resolution. The attempt to maintain a high GPA and participate in impressive extracurricular activities in order to compete for acceptance to a prestigious college should be prioritized above our real interests, general health, and overall happiness during high school.
Every clip that takes place in this classroom was from that debate. Graduates of prestigious colleges are most successful later on, which leads to a longer, happier, and less stressful life.
Because we believe that high school is a place to find ourselves, not lose our identity. We negate.
I got in and then I was ecstatic, and then we went to lunch, and then after lunch, it was like...
The moment where I got my acceptance, in that second it was worth it. After though, it really wears off. 2 months later you're like, yeah.
I was happy for about like an hour, 2 hours, and then after that it was kind of like, okay.
I got 300 likes on my post. Maybe sometimes it's just really for that Facebook post.
And we have to sometimes step back and say,
yes, I really want this college, I really want this opportunity, but if I do get it, it's not as if my life will be transformed forever, and if I don't get it, it's not as if my life is over.
We're talking about the entire span of adulthood, while they're talking about 4 years in high school.
Even if someone's going to be unhappy for their 4 years of high school, they're going to be, it's proven that they're going to be happy for the rest of their entire lives.
Really happy I'm going, but it's not the source of happiness in my life.
This is a school where anywhere from 98 to 99% of students are headed off to college. There are not multiple pathways that students see from an early age where they say, oh, there's lots of different options.
Graduates of top colleges make the highest income later in life. Koba 2 explains, depending on a graduate's degree, the lowest median starting salary for an Elite 8 college graduate is about 32% higher than a graduate at a non-Ivy League school. Those high-end salaries are a direct benefit of a high-end education.
I think it's fair to say that there's one option here, and the option is after high school you go to college, but not just college, competitive college, right? Competitive admissions.
There's no law that says if you're graduating from high school, you must enroll in a 4-year college the following September.
In order to have long-term happiness in our advocacy, you also need the short-term happiness
Why
in
is
high
that?
school. Because if you're doing what truly interests you now, you'll also be doing that later on in life.
But our argument is that if you do what truly interests you now, you're obviously going to lose like the studying for the SATs and grades and stuff, which is essential to get all of our impacts
Our
out.
advocacy is not that we should not take the SATs. Our advocacy is that the SATs should not be so hyper-competitive that we sit at home memorizing words that we may never use again.
Okay. Also, we're winning on both fronts here. We're saying we can have both short-term and long-term happiness. Where in the world? We're only saying we can only have long-term happiness because we have to make these sacrifices.
Students who aren't attending a 4-year college or don't want to don't need to feel that they're not doing what they should be doing, but rather say, this is not the right opportunity for me at this time. I think I'm going to try this. I think I'm going to travel. I think I'm going to volunteer.
You meet people who take gap years, and then you wonder why you're not doing the same thing and trying to discover yourself.
With so many things that are steering them in another direction, so much emphasis put on doing things because people tell you it's the right thing to do. How can you be authentic in that model?
Without any pressure, kids are going to not participate in extracurricular activities, they're not going to want to get involved in school, and they're going to end up getting into trouble and doing drugs.
Starting from 6th grade, my parents were like, you have to go to a really good college. I searched on Google, best college, but then when I actually visited some of these schools, I realized, these aren't really for me.
They think that the reputation is good, and they want to be able to tell people that they went to those colleges. But it shouldn't be about that, because if you work hard enough, you can become anything you want.
Let's say you don't have an Ivy League education and I do, and we both love the same thing, and now who's going to be more marketable to that job?
Well, that's why we're saying we should restructure the system. That's not fair.
It's been 12 years of me just oh, I'm gonna go to a great school someday. It's hard to break that, it's hard to just be okay, well, it doesn't matter. Even if you acknowledge that it doesn't matter, it's mattered for the last 10 or so years, so that's not something that's gonna go away easily.
If a teen has no idea what they want to be when they grow up, like many teens, good grades will give them the capability to be whatever they decide.
Why don't we know what we want to be when we grow up?
Because high school is a time when we're finding out who we are and what we want to be. It's
But how are we doing that now?
we're not. I'm saying we do that in college.
Why can't we figure out ourselves during high school?
Why can't we figure out ourselves during high school? Define figure out yourself. Wait, okay, Samara, you've asked a lot of questions. Can I please ask you one?
Yeah. I would want to go to the worst school in the world, but I'm doing what I love.
I love to act. It's the only thing I like to do. Do I go into school for business because it's safer? Oh, you're going for acting? That's really cool. Aren't you scared? I always get that question. I'm aren't you? Aren't you scared?
Studies show that our generation, dubbed the millennials, is the most stressed generation due to our obsession with our futures. Yandoli writes, half of the millennials are so stressed they can't sleep at night.
Anxiety is solved by the fact that when you go to a prestigious college, you don't have to worry about getting a job. You know that it's already going to be there in your future no matter what because you graduated having the title of a top 20 school.
The job market is bad right now for everyone. Just because you're in an Ivy League school doesn't mean that you're going to get a job out of college. What makes you get a job is because you're interested and you're passionate about what you're doing. You're just going to look at what what college you went into. They're going to look at how good are you at having an interview, how nice, how personable are you able to work with others. It doesn't just come from she went to Penn and so therefore she is getting the job.
I've often said to students that having a healthy, successful high school experience will lead to a process that you can be proud of, but there's not just one way to do it. You don't have to necessarily, follow some kind of formula. And sometimes when the ones who follow the formula most closely are the ones who are most disappointed at the end.
So there is no actual ideal college applicant. A college campus where all the students were the same, even if they were the same in a wonderful way, who would want to go to that college? The rejection becomes personal because the information shared is so personal. It's not a judgment of who they are or what they can do. Colleges only have so many beds. It's actually one of the hardest parts from the admissions officer side. So you know that great kids who are going to be great are not going to be admitted.
Get in.
I really didn't.
I got it.
How would your high school experience have been different if that was how college admissions worked?
Well, I guess seeing if it were totally just random, it wouldn't really matter what your grades were or your extracurricular activities. I probably would have done things that made me really, really happy.
Putting all the effort in for nothing. So I've thought of it differently, spent my time doing other things.
If there's less pressure, are people still going to want to learn these things?
Yes.
Why?
Well, because there's less pressure on actually achieving a grade, so people are going to learn for what the interest of learning.
Okay, would you say that most high school students in their free time are really interested in going home and learning science and stuff?
Well, actually, yeah, if you're interested in science.
You need like a minimum amount of pressure to get kids to actually do something. So if you put focus on the self, right? If you say, I'm gonna focus on what I wanna do, what every kid wants to do is not study, right? So.
Okay, how do you know that? And if there isn't this pressure existing, then they're not going to want to study anything. Even if I do have a natural interest in science, most people without this pressure are going to devote their time into other things, like doing drugs.
It's also self-induced pressure instead of external pressure. I think that's the main difference between our advocacies. We're saying that the new system is about the self, is about pleasing the self.
So
well,
you
you're
are-
self, like, let's impress everybody else.
You guys put pressure on yourselves as well.
Yes, because I
we
want to
have
get into a good
motivation in
college.
Do you like school?
Yes.
Why?
Because you get to play.
This is a brand new initiative. We've only been doing this since February, but it's already the buzz of the school.
We ended up starting a Young Makers Club, and it has been a huge success. Kids love it, everybody's talking about it, and they don't even realize how much they're learning because they're having so much fun.
We made a bug, we soldered it together, and that was really fun. I like making stuff a lot.
When they walk in here, they see materials available, they see the 3D printer running, they see robotics. They know that they're going to come in here to do something with their hands and do something collaborative and do something creative.
There's tons of different materials and you can make anything you can think of that was made out of the 3D printer. It's just really a place that you can be creative.
You could teach them how to be rote that just, move in one direction like this, or...
Me and two other friends were making guitars. I have the hole and I'm gonna use a rubber band and wrap a rubber band around here and stretch it to the end. I was gonna put the head right here and put stuff inside of it.
Find something you love, research it, build something, do something, make something.
We get to choose anything we want to do and just work on it for a whole month. And so what I did is I made a cooking show on iMovie. Today you're watching Cooking with Claire. I really like cooking, and also I really like filming or working with cameras. When I was making the video, I felt free to do whatever I wanted. I got to decide, I can go back and, just redo this or edit it, and that on a test you can't do that. I love to sew and I want to be a designer, so I made a skirt. I learned that
I can do what I love to do. I didn't know if I could do it or not, but I tried and now I know I can do it.
I got to do something that I wanted to do. It gave me a lot of confidence in designing stuff.
I really liked the month project because Ms. Boyer let us explore ourselves and say what we really wanted to learn.
How many of you know something that you're passionate about? How many of you know 2 things?
I like skiing. I want to be an astronaut. Be an interior designer. I like fishing. I like fashion designing and video.
Like academically?
How many of you know 3 things?
We all knew what we wanted to do because Ms. Boyer has gave us the option.
We could still do all of this and meet the state standards or the Common Core standards and still get all the work done, and they're proof of that.
5th grade has been different because there's more time to think about what we want to do.
Ms. Boyer taught us that we can do our own thing.
It's good to have something you want to do because it makes the other stuff that you have to do more fun.
How does it make you feel when you're creating something?
It's a good feeling. When you make something, it can inspire you to make something else, and it also shows you that you're smarter than you think you are.
Once you've done it, you have that creative confidence. It's like, I can do it.
I have the power to make what I want.
If you like what you're doing, you have to make yourself do it. You have to say, I'm going to not goof around and I'm going to actually do the work.
I feel better about myself when I can actually make something because I created it. I know that it wasn't just copied out of a book and given to me.
When I made this bug, I imagined myself making something even more, like being able to make it move and stuff. And I thought I could do that when I'm like in my 40s or something.
If you are a maker-empowered person, there's nothing that's going to get in your way. You get your first car, you'll be empowered to know how to change that tire and do it safely.
It empowers them. It helps them know that they can change their world.
When I actually succeed, it feels really good.
If I try hard enough, I can definitely be successful. Making something is fun. Taking a test is not fun.
Well, taking the test is when you're sitting down and you're looking at a paper, you're just staring at it. But making something
motivates you to want to learn, as opposed to when you have a piece of paper in front of you, you're like, oh, I have to do this, whatever, I'll just get it over with. We had these projects that were really like, you can decide this however you want, and we're going to test it out, and if it doesn't work, it's okay.
The things that they put together, they almost never work the first time. So they'll create something and they'll do everything correctly, but something will go awry.
There's so many problems. It's different than so it's like just one of those things.
Failure is an option.
You always have another chance to improve.
The opportunity to fail is something that we start taking away from the kids in 3rd grade. And that's what testing does.
Do you like school?
No,
Why not?
because it's state test. I'm worried about it, and Mom and Dad are gonna be mean to me if I get all the problems wrong.
If a parent focuses on testing and colleges and all of that, then that's what the child will think is important. And I think parents have to sit back and understand that grades aren't everything. Your child will do well the way the child is meant to do well.
The testing regime that's imposed on people by the federal and state governments is another way of reducing opportunities for students to express what they've learned and for students to show what they know and are good at.
There was a lot of project-based learning when he was in the 2nd grade. And then he got into the 3rd grade and the projects became a little bit less and he didn't like it so much anymore. And the state tests started in the 3rd grade and I got scared for him and for my other kids because I see how much they love school and enjoy learning, and I don't want that to be killed.
When you're little, you're inspired to do something that you love, but then when you grow older, you kind of lose inspiration. When you're in elementary school, you have a lot of the creativity, and then all the pressure of work and tests kind of just takes that creativity away. I just feel like my inspiration to doing what I want is going to go down. It makes me nervous to think that it's going to change and it's not going to be the way that it should be. People should learn like this. Childhood is like a time to be fun, but then as you go older, you have to know that you're going to get less and less time. and you have to accept the fact that you're going to have to do more work. That's sad because fun is fun and work is not fun.
It's kind of like you're enjoying it now, but you know that you're gonna lose it later.
I'm still gonna try to sew and stuff, but it just takes a long time, and the homework is gonna take a long time too.
I want to try my hardest to try to fit in after, so I might try to get all the work done early so that I have some time to just do what I love. Well, I'm gonna do what I have to do also, but I'm gonna try to keep doing what I want to do.
How are you going to do that?
I feel like I have to quit some of my activities now because my mom said I'm gonna have more homework and we're like studying, so I'm not gonna be able to do all of it. I think I'm gonna get more pressured and I'm not going to be able to like do the things I really want to do.
Now, especially since finals are coming up for me, there's almost zero time for me to make stuff.
In high school, I feel like they just want you to finish everything, like all the tests need to be done.
School should be fun, and I think it's about liking what you do and not dreading it.
I think we just have to get away from this model of buckets. Kids aren't buckets that you pour knowledge into. They have to experience it. They have to own it. They have to use it. I know there's pockets of it happening, and I'm, hopeful as you are to see it explode a little bit more and become more of the norm.
Other people can see this video and say, I agree, and then everyone will do it and everyone would be happy with school.